Isaiah Brooks believed he had built something worth coming home to. He was a structural engineer, a man who spent his career calculating exactly how much weight a structure could bear before it failed. He thought he understood load. He thought he understood pressure. He had no idea his own home had been collapsing while he was gone. He had taken the Lagos contract for his family, worked long days in the Nigerian heat wiring extra money home. His wife knew exactly what kind of man he was. She was counting on it. When he walked through his front door that evening, the house smelled wrong. Too clean, too quiet. And then he heard it. A slow, deliberate knock coming from behind the basement door. A door that now had a padlock on it that was not there when he left. What Isaiah found behind that door would not just end his marriage. It would dismantle everything two people had spent time carefully building against him. He just didn't know that yet. In that moment, he only knew one thing had changed forever. Before we jump into the story, comment where in the world you are watching from and subscribe because the next story is one you need to hear. The plane descended through Atlanta's evening sky, and Isaiah Brooks pressed his forehead against the cool window. After his time in Lagos, even the sight of Georgia's familiar red clay made his chest tight with longing. He had done good work there. The bridge project was the biggest contract of his career, the kind of achievement that changed a family's trajectory. His mother had taught him that. Success wasn't about quick wins. It was about building something that lasted. The cabin lights flickered on as flight attendants moved through final checks. Isaiah straightened his collar, smoothed his tie. Even dog-tired, presentation mattered. Another lesson from Mama Lorraine, who had raised him alone after his father left, who had taught elementary school and pressed dresses and perfect posture no matter how tight money got. He checked his phone one last time before landing. A text from Serena. Sorry, baby, can't pick you up. At care consultation for Mama Lorraine. Take a car. Love you. He typed back, no problem, trying to ignore the familiar twinge of worry. During his absence, there had been a steady stream of reasons why his mother couldn't come to the video calls. She was resting. She had therapy. She wasn't feeling up to it. Then came that call. Serena's voice tight with concern. Congestive heart failure, she had said. Early stages, but requiring consistent care. When she mentioned the cost for in-home support and medication, Isaiah hadn't hesitated. He had simply adjusted the wire transfer amount, grateful he could provide what his mother needed. The plane touched down with a gentle bump. As passengers around him rushed to grab bags, Isaiah remained seated, letting his mind drift to the morning he had left. Mama Lorraine had made his favorite breakfast, salmon croquettes and grits. Serena had seemed distracted checking her phone, but his mother had held his face in her hands and said, "You go build that bridge, baby. I'll be right here when you get back." In the terminal, Isaiah shouldered his carry-on and ordered a rideshare. The driver was chatty, pointing out new construction and talking about recent changes in the city. Isaiah responded politely, but his mind was already home, imagining the warmth of his own bed, the comfort of familiar walls. The house looked exactly as he remembered it from the outside. The neat lawn, the trimmed hedges, the porch light glowing welcome. But something felt off the moment he stepped inside. The air was too still, artificially fresh with the chemical sweetness of scented candles trying to mask something else. Everything looked staged, like a model home rather than a lived-in space. "Serena?" His voice echoed slightly in the empty foyer. "Mama?" No answer. He set down his bag, noting how the hardwood gleamed as if freshly polished. Moving through the house, he noticed other details that pricked at his engineer's mind. Things too perfect, too arranged. The kitchen showed no signs of recent cooking. The family room looked untouched. Then he heard it. A slow, deliberate knock from below. 3 measured beats, then silence. 3 more. Isaiah turned toward the basement door, his breath caught at the sight of the heavy padlock secured through a new hasp. Industrial grade, recently installed. The knocking came again, weaker this time. With trembling fingers, he found his house key ring. The padlock key was there, labeled with Serena's neat handwriting. Basement safety. The lock clicked open with cold precision. He pulled open the door, and the musty darkness below reached up like hands. As his eyes adjusted, he made out a figure in the gloom. Mama Lorraine sat in a folding chair, wrapped in what looked like an old blanket. A small space heater glowed orange beside her on the bare concrete floor. She was thinner than he remembered, her face drawn with exhaustion. But when she saw him, something powerful moved through her. That core of dignity that had carried her through raising him alone, through every hard year. She straightened in the chair, chin lifting, and said softly, "I knew you'd come back, baby. I knew you would." Isaiah lifted his mother from the basement with gentle strength, one arm supporting her back, the other under her knees. She felt lighter than he remembered, too light. Her hands, usually so strong from years of gardening, trembled as they gripped his shirt. Each step up carried the weight of betrayal, but his face remained perfectly calm, his movements deliberate and steady. In the kitchen's bright light, the changes in her were starker. Her cheekbone stood sharp against skin that had lost its usual glow. The silk head wrap she always wore with such style sat slightly askew. And her clothes, the same clothes she had worn with pride as a school administrator, hung loose on her frame. He settled her at the kitchen table, the same table where she had served his farewell breakfast. His hands didn't shake as he filled a glass with water, added ice the way she liked it, set it before her. Sure. The refrigerator was full of expensive groceries, none of them the simple, nourishing foods his mother preferred. He found eggs, bread, and some cheese, enough to make her favorite midnight snack from his childhood. "Start from the beginning, Mama," he said softly, cracking eggs into a bowl. His voice was level, controlled, but something had shifted inside him. Not broken, but transformed, like metal under extreme pressure, becoming something harder and more purposeful. Mama Lorraine sipped her water slowly. "Soon after you left, she changed, like a switch flipped." Her voice was hoarse from disuse. "First, it was little things, cold food, telling me I was in her way when I tried to help in the kitchen. Then she said you had agreed I should stay in the lower level while they did renovations upstairs." The eggs sizzled as they hit the pan. Isaiah kept his movement smooth, his breathing even. "What renovations? There weren't any. Never saw a single worker." Mama Lorraine's hands tightened around the water glass. "Then the lock appeared. She said it was for my safety in case I got confused at night. She'd let me up during the day when she was gone, but as soon as the sun set, Isaiah placed the plate before her. Eggs perfectly scrambled, toast golden brown, his mother's favorite midnight comfort food, the meal she had made him countless times during late-night study sessions. "And your phone?" She said she was upgrading it. The new one only had one number labeled emergency. It always went to her other phone. Mama Lorraine took a small bite of toast. "I tried calling it once when I heard her upstairs with someone else. A man's voice. She came down later, said if I did that again, she'd have to reconsider the arrangement." Isaiah's jaw tightened imperceptibly. He pulled out his phone and dialed Uncle Raymond's number. His uncle answered on the first ring, voice thick with sleep. "Uncle Ray, I need you to come over, now." Something in his tone must have carried through because Raymond didn't ask questions. Later, Uncle Raymond's heavy steps crossed the porch. When he saw Mama Lorraine at the table, his face did everything Isaiah's wouldn't allow his own to do. Shock, rage, heartbreak playing across his features in rapid succession. "Baby girl," Raymond breathed, crossing to embrace his sister-in-law. Then he turned to Isaiah, voice hard. "Where's that woman?" "Out," Isaiah said simply. "I need you to take Mama to your house tonight." "Should we call the police?" Raymond's hands were clenched at his sides. "Not yet." Isaiah helped his mother stand. "I need to understand everything first." He packed a small bag for her while Uncle Raymond helped her to his car, his movements still perfectly controlled, his face still unnaturally calm. After they left, Isaiah sat alone in the darkened kitchen. An hour passed, 2. Then he heard Serena's key in the lock, her heels clicking on the hardwood. She walked in carrying shopping bags, smelling of wine and an expensive restaurant. For a moment, seeing him at the table, she froze. A microsecond of panic crossing her face before her features smoothed into warm welcome. "Baby." She crossed the room quickly, wrapping her arms around him. "I'm so sorry about pickup. The consultation ran late, and you know how important Mama's care is." Her voice was honey-sweet, practiced. Isaiah stood and returned her embrace, his arm steady, his heart cold. "I'm exhausted," he said simply. "Let's go to bed." Upstairs in their bedroom, he lay beside her in the dark, listening to her breathing, even out into sleep. His eyes remained open, his mind already assembling a blueprint for what would come next, organizing facts and evidence like the support beams of a bridge designed to carry exactly the weight needed to bring everything down. The morning light filtered through the kitchen windows as Isaiah heard the shower start upstairs. He waited until the water had been running for 2 full minutes before moving to the filing cabinet in their home office. The metal drawer slid open smoothly, folders neatly labeled in Serena's precise handwriting. Insurance, taxes, medical records, house documents. His fingers moved methodically through the files, engineer's mind cataloging each absent. No congestive heart failure diagnosis, no prescription records, no receipts from any in-home care provider. No medical bills, no insurance claims, nothing with Dr. Harlan's letterhead or signature. The medical records folder contained only his own annual physical results and Serena's dental records. The water continued running upstairs as Isaiah pulled out his phone and dialed Dr. Harlan's office. A receptionist answered on the second ring, voiced professionally, "Good morning, doctor. Harlan's office. Hello, this is Isaiah Brooks. I'm calling about my mother, Lorraine Brooks. I need to follow up on her treatment plan." His voice remained steady, controlled. A pause, keyboard clicking. "I'm sorry, sir. I'm not finding any patient by that name in our system." "Could you check again?" She would have been diagnosed with congestive heart failure. His free hand rested flat on the desk, perfectly still. More clicking. "I'm sorry, Mr. Brooks. We have no record of a Lorraine Brooks ever being treated here." "Thank you." He ended the call, set the phone down carefully. The shower was still running as he logged into their joint savings account, the one specifically designated for his mother's care. The deposits, totaling $17,600. Current balance, $340.26. He pulled up the transaction history, each deposit followed by cash withdrawals within days. Never the full amount at once, but in increments of 500 or 1,000. Regular, systematic, planned. The water shut off upstairs. Isaiah picked up his phone again, scrolled to Kendra Ellis's number. "Aye," she answered immediately. "Isaiah, how was Lagos?" "Kendra." His voice remained measured, each word precisely chosen. "I need your legal counsel. I came home last night and found my mother locked in the basement. She's been kept there. Serena told me she had congestive heart failure, had me sending extra money for care. I just checked. No medical records exist. No doctor. The money's gone, withdrawn in cash." Silence on the line. Then Kendra's voice, sharp and focused. "Don't touch any accounts. Don't move money. Don't let her know you know. I'm starting a file right now. How much was taken?" $17,600 for the non-existent medical care, all withdrawn in cash within days of deposit. Documentation of the withdrawals, all in the account history. "Good. Stay quiet. Let me start building this." A pause. "Isaiah, I mean it. Don't confront her yet. We need to understand how deep this goes." "Understood." He ended the call as footsteps approached on the stairs. Serena appeared in the doorway wearing a silk robe, her hair wrapped in a towel. She smiled warmly, the same smile he had come home to for their marriage. "Baby, you're up early. Still on Legos time?" "Just catching up on some paperwork." He closed the laptop smoothly. "Let me make you breakfast. Your favorite cheesy scrambled eggs?" Her voice was light, affectionate. The same voice that had called him in Lagos to say his mother needed expensive medical care. That would be nice. And he smiled back, watching her move through their kitchen with familiar grace. She hummed while she cooked, telling him about plans for the weekend, asking about his flight. Her hands expertly cracking eggs and grating cheese, the same hands that had locked his mother in a basement and systematically emptied their accounts. When she set the plate before him, the eggs were perfect, just the way he liked them. He ate slowly, responding to her questions about Lagos with careful detail, maintaining eye contact when appropriate. His responses were pleasant, engaged, present. Inside, his mind worked like it did on complex structural problems, examining load-bearing points, calculating pressure tolerances, identifying exactly where and how things would need to be dismantled. His mother had taught him patience. His profession had taught him precision. Both would serve him now. Serena refilled his coffee, her hand brushing his shoulder affectionately. "More toast, baby?" "Yes, thank you." He smiled up at her, his expression perfectly calibrated, 3 moves ahead, and she had no idea the game had even started. That afternoon, Isaiah sat in Kendra Ellis's downtown office, the city skyline visible through wide windows. Spread across her desk were bank statements and credit card records from the Brooks household accounts. Kendra held a yellow legal pad, making precise notes as they worked through each document. "Here," Isaiah said, pointing to a series of charges. Restaurants in Buckhead. We never go to Buckhead. His finger moved down the statement. Marcel's, Saint Cecilia, Le Bilboquet. These are date spots. Kendra nodded, writing. And these hotel charges? The Whitley, 4 times. Each time matches weekend, Serena said she was visiting her sister Brooke. His voice remained steady, clinical. The Waldorf, 2. 3 separate stays? Expensive taste. Kendra's pen kept moving. Then this. Isaiah tapped a recurring charge. Creed Properties, LLC. Monthly payments to a luxury apartment complex off Peachtree. Started small, then increased. 3 more transfers after that. Kendra typed rapidly on her computer. Let me pull the LLC registration. Here it is. Creed Properties, LLC, registered to Tristan Vale. Self-described real estate developer. She scrolled. Thin, actual development portfolio. Lots of social media presence. Very carefully managed public image. What else? 2 prior civil suits. Kendra's eyes narrowed at the screen. 1 in Savannah, 1 in Charlotte. Both settled quietly. Both involved financial fraud allegations that never became criminal charges. She looked up. He's done this before. Done what, exactly? Based on these filings, he finds women with access to resources, builds romantic relationship, creates legitimate-looking business entities, and extracts money through them. Clean enough to avoid prosecution, messy enough to pressure settlements. She scrolled further. The Savannah victim lost money before she caught on. Charlotte was similar. Isaiah absorbed this. How much total from our accounts to his LLC? Kendra checked her notes. 15,200 confirmed transfers. But here's what stops me cold. She turned the screen toward him. Look at the LLC registration date. Before I left for Lagos. Exactly. This wasn't opportunistic. The receiving vehicle was set up before there was money to receive, before you even boarded that plane. Kendra's voice was precise, controlled anger underneath. He built the infrastructure for this in advance, which means Serena was involved with him before I left. Isaiah's hands were flat on the desk, and the medical fraud wasn't just theft. It was their war chest. Money she could pull in cash that you wouldn't question because it was for your mother's care. Kendra made another note. While Tristan's LLC provided a seemingly legitimate place to park other funds, Isaiah stood. I need to see something. Later, he parked across from the luxury apartment complex where the LLC charges originated. Modern architecture, valet parking, floor-to-ceiling windows. He waited, engine off, hands resting on the steering wheel. Porsche's silver Lexus pulled into the parking garage. He waited. She emerged with a man, tall, well-dressed, confident in his movements. They walked close together, laughing about something. The man's hand rested on the small of Serena's back with practiced familiarity. They stopped at her car. He leaned down to kiss her cheek before she got in. Isaiah watched without expression. He didn't take photos. He didn't need to. He started his car and drove home. In their kitchen, he wiped down counters that were already clean, started marinating chicken for dinner, set the table with the plates they had received as wedding gifts. When Serena came home, he was chopping vegetables. She kissed his cheek, dropped her purse on the counter. "How was your welcome back lunch?" she asked. "Good to see everyone." He kept chopping. "How's Brooke doing? Haven't heard much about her lately?" "Oh, she's great." Serena's voice was warm, natural. "Had a lovely visit with her." "She's thinking about going back to school." Isaiah nodded, sliding perfectly diced bell peppers into a bowl. "That's wonderful. Always good to invest in yourself." He watched her move through their kitchen. This woman he had shared a life with, and thought about the careful architecture of lies she had built, about Tristan Vale's hand on her back, about his mother in the basement while they dined at Le Bilboquet. Wine with dinner? Serena held up a bottle. Perfect. He smiled, already composing in his mind exactly how he would approach Brooke, but that could wait. For now, he had chicken to grill and a performance to maintain. The next morning, Isaiah pulled out his phone and composed a careful text to Brooke. "Back from Lagos. Would love to catch up over coffee if you're free today." Simple, casual, the kind of message any brother-in-law might send after being away. Brooke's response came quickly. "Sure. At Revolution Coffee? Perfect. See you then." He arrived early, choosing a quiet corner table away from the afternoon crowd. Through the window, he watched Brooke park her Honda, check her reflection in the rearview mirror, and sit there for a long moment before getting out. Her shoulders were tight, her movements hesitant. When she walked in, Isaiah stood to hug her. She returned the embrace stiffly, then sat down, hands wrapped around her paper cup like a shield. "Thanks for meeting me," he said warmly. "How have you been?" "Good. Busy with work." Brooke's eyes wouldn't quite meet his. She picked at the cardboard sleeve on her cup. "How was Nigeria?" "Challenging project. Learned a lot." He paused, letting the silence stretch just long enough. "Missed home, though. Missed family. Always good to reconnect." Brooke nodded too quickly. "Right, of course. Family's important." "It is." Isaiah took a slow sip of coffee. "That's actually why I wanted to talk to you, Brooke. About family." Her fingers tightened on the cup. "Oh, I found something when I got home." His voice stayed gentle. "In the basement. My mother was down there in a folding chair with a space heater and a padlock on the door." Brooke's face drains of color. Her cup hit the table hard enough to slosh coffee. "What?" "A padlock, Brooke. On the outside of the door." "No." She shook her head. "No, she wouldn't." "Serena never said." Her voice cracked. "Mrs. Lorraine was locked in? While I sent money for medical care she never received. While Serena spent weekends that weren't actually visits with you." Tears welled in Brooke's eyes. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I knew about some things, but not that. Never that. I would have said something if I know." He handed her a napkin. "Tell me what you did know." The words came in rushes like she had been holding them back. "Yes, Serena had been seeing Tristan before Isaiah left. Yes. She had talked about plans, about getting money together where no one could trace it. She had called Isaiah a stepping stone once, laughing over wine, saying she was done stepping on him. Get liquid was how she put it," Brooke said miserably, before filing the papers. Tristan told her exactly how to do it. Small withdrawals, nothing that would flag the bank. He had done it before, he said. Knew all the tricks. The medical care money. Brooke nodded. "She said you'd never question anything marked for Mrs. Lorraine's treatment. That your love for your mother made you stupid about money." Fresh tears spilled. "I'm sorry. I should have told you. But she's my sister, and I thought I don't know what I thought." "You thought family loyalty meant keeping quiet." "Yes." It came out like relief, like someone finally understood. "But Mrs. Lorraine is family too. In that basement. I never would have." She straightened suddenly. "What do you need from me? Whatever it is, I'll do it." Isaiah studied her carefully. "I'm not going to make you choose sides publicly. This isn't about forcing you to stand against your sister, but when the time comes, and it will come, I'm going to need you to tell the truth to the right people. Just the truth, exactly like you've told me today." "Yes." Immediate. Emphatic. "Yes, I will. I promise." Her whole body seemed to relax. Like she had been carrying a weight she could finally set down. "I should have done it. You're doing it now. That matters." They talked a while longer, Brooke sharing small details that would help complete the picture. When they finally stood to leave, she hugged him again. Genuine this time, almost desperate. "Thank you," she whispered, "for not hating me." "Never did," he said simply. That evening, Isaiah sat across from Serena at their dining room table, watching her talk about her day, about plans for the weekend, about maybe hosting a dinner party soon. He smiled at the right moments, asked the right questions, reached across to squeeze her hand when she mentioned missing him while he was away. His patience was a fortress now, every brick mortared with purpose, every wall measured twice. He had what he needed. Later, Isaiah sat at his desk reviewing structural calculations when his phone buzzed. Kendra's name lit up the screen. "I need you in my office." "Now," she said without preamble. "There's something in the property records you have to see." The urgency in her voice made him close his laptop immediately. "On my way." Later, he walked into Kendra's office. She had papers spread across her desk, post-it notes marking key pages. Her usual composed expression was tight, with contained anger. "Sit down," she said, pushing a document toward him. "Look at this." Isaiah scanned the page. It was a home equity line of credit application for $60,000 against his house, the house he had bought before marrying Serena, the one still titled solely in his name. "I don't understand," he said slowly. "I never applied for this." "No," Kendra agreed, "but someone did." Look at the signature page. There it was. What appeared to be his signature. The familiar loops and angles he had been using for decades. But something felt wrong about it. The strokes were too perfect, too precise. "I had our forensic document examiner look at it," Kendra continued. "See these faint marks around the letters?" She pointed with a pen. "Those are practice traces. Someone sat down and worked at copying your signature until they got it right. This wasn't impulse. This was planned. Isaiah felt cold settle in his stomach. When was this submitted? From an IP address that traces to a coffee shop 2 blocks from Creed Properties LLC's registered office address. Kendra's voice was steel. Either Tristan submitted it himself or he was physically present when it happened. Either way, his fingerprints are all over this. How long until it processes? Based on standard timeline, but I've already flagged it at the bank, quietly, through channels that won't trigger any notification to the applicant. She shuffled papers. And that's not all. I've prepared a formal fraud complaint for the DA's office. It names both Serena and Tristan as co-conspirators. She laid out the complete package: the elder abuse documentation, bank records showing the $17,600 in medical fraud withdrawals, transfer records tracking $15,200 to Creed Properties, LLC. And now the forged mortgage application. We're not just looking at civil fraud anymore, Kendra explained. This is criminal territory: elder abuse, wire fraud, conspiracy, and now forgery. The DA's office will take this seriously, especially with the pattern we can show through Tristan's prior civil suits. Isaiah studied each page carefully, his engineer's mind mapping the connections, seeing how each piece reinforced the others. You've built this like a load-bearing wall. That's exactly what it is. Every element supporting the others. No weak points they can attack. She leaned back. How do you want to play the timing? That gives me time to position everything exactly where it needs to be, Isaiah said quietly. He left Kendra's office with a clear sequence in his mind. That evening, he took Serena to dinner at her favorite restaurant, watched her order the wine she loved, listened to her talk about plans for redecorating their bedroom. After dinner, he stopped at a boutique she liked and bought her a small silver bracelet. Nothing extravagant, just enough to maintain the illusion of comfort and normalcy. In the car on the way home, he turned to her with a warm smile. I've been thinking we should do a proper family welcome home gathering at Uncle Raymond's this weekend. It's important to me having everyone together after being gone so long. Serena beamed at him, reaching over to squeeze his hand. That sounds perfect, baby. I'd love that. He squeezed back, his grip gentle, his mind already mapping the precise architectural details of what would happen in that room. Every carefully constructed lie would collapse. But tonight, he simply drove them home. His patience a foundation built to withstand exactly the load it needed to carry. The next morning, Isaiah sat at Uncle Raymond's kitchen table laying out everything in measured, precise detail. The medical fraud, the basement, the padlock, the forged HELOC application, the LLC formed before he even left the country. He watched his uncle's face darken with each revelation, but Raymond didn't interrupt once. When Isaiah finished, silence filled the kitchen for a long moment. Finally, Raymond folded his hands on the table. Tell me what you need. I need your house for the gathering this weekend, Isaiah said. And I need you to understand, this isn't going to be a celebration. This is going to be a reckoning. You got this place whenever you need it, Raymond said without hesitation. What else? Just be present. Be a witness. That's all I'm asking of anyone. Back at his office, Isaiah called Kendra. Is everything submitted? The DA's office received the full package this morning. She confirmed. Elder abuse documentation, financial records, forgery evidence, all of it. They're taking it seriously. The bank fraud division has already opened a separate investigation thread on Tristan based on the IP address connection to the HELOC application. They're particularly interested in his prior civil suits now that we've established a pattern. Good, Isaiah said. That's the foundation. Now we build the walls. He spent time organizing documents into a leather portfolio, arranging them in the exact sequence he would present them. Bank statements showing the $17,600 in medical care withdrawals. The letter from Dr. Harlan's office confirming no patient record existed. The LLC registration dated before his departure. The forensic analysis of the forged signature. The IP address report linking the HELOC submission to Tristan's business location. Each piece of brick mortared with precision. Next, he called Mama Lorraine. She answered on the first ring. How are you feeling? He asked. Better every day, she said. Raymond may drive me crazy with his fussing, but I'm getting stronger. Mama, I need to tell you what's happening this weekend. He explained the gathering, the confrontation he had planned, the evidence he would present. I want you there, but only if you feel ready. This is going to be heavy. Baby, she said, her voice steady as steel. I have been waiting to be in that room. That woman smiled in my face while she locked me in a basement. I'm not missing this. It might get ugly. Ugly happened in that basement, she replied. This is just truth coming to light. After hanging up, Isaiah called Brooke. She answered cautiously. The family gathering this weekend? He said. I need you there. Serena will expect me to take her side. I'm not asking you to take sides, he said gently. I'm just asking you to be present when the truth comes out. The room needs a witness who knows what's real. Silence stretched between them. Then, what time? Uncle Raymond's house. I'll be there, she said quietly. And Isaiah, I'm sorry. About all of it. Don't be sorry, he replied. Just be honest. That evening, he reviewed every document one final time, ensuring each page was in perfect order. The portfolio sat on his desk like architectural plans, every detail measured twice. In the kitchen, Serena hummed while loading the dishwasher. She came up behind him, wrapped her arms around his shoulders. I'm so glad you're home, she said softly. Things are going to be good now. I can feel it. He reached up, patted her hand where it rested on his chest. I agree, he said. Everything is going to be exactly what it needs to be. Later, lying in bed, he listened to her breathing, even out into sleep. The portfolio waited on his desk, ready for the gathering. For the first time since finding his mother in that basement, he felt completely calm. Everything was positioned. Every detail was accounted for. Every structural element was in place. He closed his eyes and slept soundly, dreaming of buildings rising true and straight into clear sky. Saturday afternoon settled over Uncle Raymond's house like a heavy blanket. The living room clock ticked steadily as family members arrived one by one. Uncle Raymond stood in his kitchen brewing coffee nobody would drink. Brooke sat quietly in the corner, hands folded in her lap. Mama Lorraine took her place at the head of the dining table, back straight, chin lifted, wearing her Sunday dress like armor. When Serena walked in, the room's temperature seemed to drop. She stepped through the doorway smiling, carrying a covered dish she had prepared to maintain the illusion of a celebration. Rien. The smile froze on her face when she saw Mama Lorraine. Lorraine! Serena's voice pitched too high. Strain showing at the edges. Aren't you supposed to be visiting your cousins in Macon? Mama Lorraine looked at her without blinking, without speaking. Her silence filled the room like smoke. I'm so glad to see you. Serena tried again, her words falling into dead air. You're looking well. Still nothing. Just those steady eyes, that straight spine, that dignified stillness. Isaiah gestured to an empty chair. Sit down, Serena. She hesitated, then settled into the chair, smoothing her skirt with trembling hands. Her eyes darted around the room, to Brooke, who studied the floor, to Uncle Raymond, who stood in the kitchen doorway with his arms crossed, to the leather portfolio sitting closed on the table in front of Isaiah. What is this? She asked, her voice smaller now. This, Isaiah said quietly, is everything you built while I was gone. He opened the portfolio with careful hands, and everything you're about to lose because of it. He began laying out documents one by one, his voice never rising above conversation level. Each paper made a soft sound as it touched the wooden table. The basement where you locked my mother. The space heater you gave her instead of heat. The padlock you installed to keep her contained. Serena's face contorted. That's not I was protecting her. She was confused. She kept wandering. Dr. Harlan's office has no record of her as a patient. Isaiah continued, placing the letter from the medical office. No diagnosis, no prescriptions, no care plan. But here are the bank records showing $17,600 withdrawn in cash, taken from money I sent specifically for her medical care. There's an explanation, Serena started, tears welling. If you just let me... The withdrawal pattern is interesting, Isaiah went on, laying down more statements. Small amounts, spread out. Always just under reporting thresholds, almost like someone knew exactly how to move money without triggering bank alerts. Serena stood abruptly. This is ridiculous. I don't have to sit here and sit down. Uncle Raymond's voice carried from the doorway. She sat. Isaiah placed the LLC registration on the table. Creed Properties, LLC, formed before I left for Lagos. Payments totaling $15,200 listed in our household accounts as maintenance and repairs. Another document. The apartment complex charges. The hotel stays on weekends you were supposedly visiting Brooke. Serena's eyes snapped to her sister. Brooke kept staring at the floor. And this, Isaiah said, placing the HELOC application and forensic report submitted from a coffee shop 2 blocks from Tristan's registered business address. with my signature traced onto it. A signature you practiced until you thought you had it right. You don't understand. Serena's voice cracked. Tristan said he promised the bank has been notified about the fraud. The DA's office has a complete package documenting the elder abuse, the wire transfers, and the forgery. You and Tristan are both named. I've retained divorce counsel. You're leaving the house tonight. Serena's face crumpled. Please, baby. We can work this out. I love you. I made mistakes, but you used my love for my mother like it was a tool. Isaiah said, his voice still quiet, still measured. She raised me in that house. You locked her in the basement of it. I need you to understand. This isn't me being angry. This is me making sure you never mistake someone's patience for weakness again. The room held its breath. Serena looked desperately around the circle of faces, finding no ally, no escape route, no way to reframe this into something she could survive. Then Mama Lorraine spoke, her voice clear as a church bell. I'll pray for you. That's the most you're getting from this family. The days after the confrontation settled into a steady rhythm. Isaiah returned to his office, diving back into structural calculations and project timelines. His evenings belonged to Mama Lorraine, sharing quiet dinners at Uncle Raymond's house, where she was staying temporarily. Between meetings, he took Kendra's calls, tracking each legal development as the machinery of justice ground forward with mechanical precision. The criminal charges landed first. The DA's office filed 2 counts against Serena, elder abuse and financial elder abuse. The charging documents were clean, precise, built on the foundation of documentation Isaiah had assembled. Each bank statement, each withdrawal slip, each falsified medical claim formed another brick in the wall she couldn't climb over. The bank fraud investigation opened a separate track focused on Tristan. His attorney attempted to position him as merely a passive recipient, just a man who had received money from a woman he was dating, unaware of its origins. That defense crumbled under the weight of 3 key pieces of evidence: the LLC formation before Isaiah's departure, the HELOC application submitted from his business address, and the pattern established by his prior civil suits in Savannah and Charlotte. The prior conduct documentation was crucial, Kendra explained during one of their daily calls. It let us establish this wasn't a one-time lapse in judgment. This was his business model. Tristan's attorney recognized the futility of fighting these charges at trial. The evidence was too clean, too comprehensive. A plea deal emerged. Probation, full restitution of the $15,200 received through Creed Properties, LLC, community service hours, and the permanent dissolution of the LLC with a prohibition on reforming it under the same name. But the most damaging element of the plea wasn't the penalties. It was the requirement for Tristan to provide a complete written account of his role in the scheme, including the pre-departure planning phase. That account would become part of the public court record, available to anyone who went looking. Within days of its filing, his 2 primary investors in the DeKalb County strip mall development pulled their funding. The project collapsed. He lost his earnest money on the property. By the end of the month, he had relocated to his mother's home in Macon, his carefully constructed image of success dismantled as methodically as he had once constructed it. The divorce proceedings moved with similar inevitability. Serena's documented financial misconduct eliminated any claim she might have made to marital assets. Her attorney, reviewing the evidence package, privately advised her to accept whatever terms Isaiah offered. She did. She walked away with almost nothing, which was, Isaiah thought but never said aloud, precisely what she had contributed to their marriage. On the morning of Serena's sentencing hearing, Isaiah did not go to the courthouse. Instead, he submitted Mama Lorraine's victim impact statement to be read by the prosecuting attorney. She had written it herself in her own clear hand. 3 paragraphs that captured years of quiet observation and calculated cruelty. I watched you, she wrote, pretend to love my son. I kept quiet because I believed in letting him make his own choices. But what you did wasn't about choices. It was about seeing his goodness as a weakness you could use. You saw his trust as a tool. You saw his love as a ladder you could climb and then kick away. You locked me in the dark because you thought nobody would ever turn the lights on. But my son is an engineer. He builds things to last. And what he built for you was consequences. Kendra called from the courthouse to tell him Serena had sat at the defense table throughout the reading. Eyes fixed downward, shoulders curved inward, never once looking up, the judge had noted the particular calculation involved in using a falsified medical diagnosis to extract funds, calling it a profound betrayal of family trust. Isaiah sat in his car in the office parking lot after the call ended. He did not feel triumph. He did not feel rage. He felt the quiet satisfaction of an engineer who had identified a structural flaw, calculated the load-bearing requirements, and built something solid enough to hold. He sat there for a long moment, hands resting lightly on the steering wheel. Then he started the car and drove home. Time had passed like water under one of Isaiah's bridges. On this particular morning, he stood in his backyard, coffee mug warming his hands, watching Mama Lorraine tend to her container garden. The early light caught the silver in her hair as she carefully pinched dead leaves from her tomato plants. Through the new floor-to-ceiling windows of what had once been a dark basement, sunlight streamed into her properly finished in-law suite. The renovation had been his first priority after everything settled. He had transformed the space entirely, installing a private entrance with a covered walkway leading to the garden. A full bathroom with grab bars and a walk-in shower. A compact but complete kitchen with cherry cabinets that matched Mama's old house. The concrete floors were now covered in warm bamboo, and windows lined the garden-facing wall, filling the space with natural light. It wasn't just livable, it was dignified, like her. His phone buzzed. Another message from the Atlanta development firm that had been courting him to lead their infrastructure division. The salary they were offering would have seemed impossible years ago. Now, he let the message sit unread. He had learned something about the value of taking his time, of examining foundations before building on them. Inside his home office, a birthday card from Brooke sat on his desk. Their relationship had found its own careful balance after she testified in the criminal proceedings. They never mentioned Serena's name, but they maintained a kind of honest distance. Cards on birthdays, brief responses, acknowledgement without pretense. She had done the right thing in that courtroom, speaking clearly about what she knew. That mattered. Kendra's latest draft proposal for their mentorship program lay open beside the card. They had spent time refining the structure, a pipeline for young black engineers in Atlanta, the kind of support system Isaiah had never had. The program would pair established professionals with students, provide internship opportunities, and help navigate the particular challenges of being black in a field that still had too few faces that looked like theirs. Kendra had become more than his attorney. She was family now, the kind of friend who showed up with takeout on random weeknights and argued about basketball statistics while they worked through program details. The mail arrived as Isaiah was reviewing construction specifications for his latest project. Among the usual envelopes was a letter with a Savannah return address he didn't recognize. Inside, he found 3 carefully handwritten pages. "Dear Mr. Brooks," it began. "You don't know me, but I know Tristan Vale. He did to me what he tried to do to you, though I wasn't as strong or as smart about it as you were. I stayed quiet out of shame, convinced that somehow I should have known better, should have seen it coming. I let him settle quietly because I couldn't bear the thought of people knowing how completely I had been fooled." Isaiah read on as the woman explained how seeing Tristan's written account in the public court record, the one required by his plea deal, had changed everything for her. There it was in black and white, his whole playbook, his pattern, the way he chose his targets and built his schemes. It wasn't just me. It wasn't just you. It was what he did deliberately and repeatedly. Having that document gave me something I could point to and say, this is what he does, and this is how he does it. And I was not foolish. I was targeted. She was pursuing civil restitution now, she wrote, with a much stronger case thanks to the pattern evidence his prosecution had created. I want you to know that your refusal to handle this quietly, your insistence on documentation and consequences, reached further than you knew. You built something larger than your own justice. Isaiah read the letter twice, then folded it carefully and placed it in a file in his desk drawer, not out of pride, out of documentation, because he was an engineer, and engineers kept the records that proved what they built was sound. That evening found him at his drafting table, lamp-pooling yellow light on calculations for a new pedestrian bridge project. The numbers flowed through his pencil with familiar precision. He heard soft footsteps and smiled without looking up. Mama Lorraine appeared in the doorway in her housecoat, carrying 2 cups of tea, just as she had when he was a boy studying late into the night. She set 1 cup beside his drafting table without a word. He reached up and squeezed her hand, eyes still on his calculations. She patted his shoulder once and returned to her room, her slippers whispering against the hardwood floors. Isaiah took a sip of the perfectly sweetened tea and returned to his work. Some things, he thought, were worth the patience to build right. I hope you enjoyed that one. Be sure to like the video and subscribe so you don't miss the next story. I've picked out 2 more for you that I think you'll really like.